Okay, it's been a while since I did another video with the Woodland Scenics Grand Valley HO train layout kit. So let's get things rolling here. And I can just go ahead and leave. I've got some lighting done. Some of my scenery is up. Kind of happy with these trees here, so I'll be putting a whole lot of them up on that mountain there. This train really runs great on this track. Constantly checking it anytime I move it. This is the room where the layout's going to end up staying. It was always called the train room, because those are my trains from when I was a kid. They're Lionels from the late 40s. Pretty much not much has changed since the last video, I don't think, except its location and just a little bit more scenery detail. These little bum dudes, I'm not sure if I can get them in here good. Now with the train in the way. But that's a little flickering camp light, which they're hanging out behind this business. Kind of love that little thing. And then I finally got the gravel in at my factory. This is all glued down. The directions in the Woodland Scenics kit actually tell you how to do that. In the previous video, I think I showed you my lake and also the stream that comes down from the top of the mountain. A little haunted house, which was actually the Bates Mansion. I got lucky and got that on Amazon.com for $31. They're listed for anywhere from $120 to God knows how much on eBay. Somebody must have found out they were good for HO scale. Specifically, I was asked about electric in a question, so let's go over that. This is my Pro Cab hookup, and that's this particular controller here, the NCE Pro Cab, and that I just put into the side of the wood. Down here I've got a switch that I installed, which is for these guys, off and then on. Now those were bought in from China. As you can see, there's lighting in that building. There's also lighting here. That's a street lamp, which I'm going to have many more of that are going to be up here in town. The way this was set up, I started to think that I was going to do DCC for all my lighting, and then I realized, well, I had some older stuff, so for all my DC lighting, I'm using an old, that thing must be 12 years old, Tech 3 DC train controller, and I've hooked up my light wiring to the actual train electricity source on the back of it, so if I want to, I can dim the lights by just dropping back on the power, and that way this dude in here, if I can get in on him, he's not blinded by too much light when he wants to take a nap. Now, everything except for the street lights, or the flashing lights, are hooked up to that. Those, I went to Radio Shack and bought this particular adapter, and it goes anywhere from, I believe it's 1.5 volts all the way up to 12 volts. You can pick it with a selector button here. Alright, now for the mess. My table, I built it as light as I could, and they provide you with a piece of styrofoam to put all your track on and everything, but I also put a thin 1/4 inch piece of plywood underneath of that, and ran holes for all my buses, electrical buses, and found that it's pretty easy to work with it. I was able to put a shelf on. This don't belong here. That belongs right there. Okay, these right here are for my flashing train signals, and they just kind of poke through from the top, and then you pick a set of wires like these. I know that those two wires there run all the way down, and if I need to tap into something for the electric controller that is running off that Radio Shack fixed current, that's what I hook to that. Now the lights for the factory, the lights for the train station, and the street lights will all get wired to a different set, which is these wires in the back. I just happen to know which ones are which. I should have marked them, but that thing needs to be quiet. Hang on one sec. Let's see if we can turn that off. There we go. Didn't want to forget about him. Now these thicker wires that I have here, these run to my DCC unit, which is up in here. Get back up in there. Sorry about the shakiness, but I know that if it's a 20 gauge wire, that runs all the way down, and I tapped into several locations on the track so I never have a dead spot. These side slats, the way I put the boards up there like that, they're nice and light. Plus they give you the ability to just drill a hole and run your wires. This is not complete under here. It's going to have to get a little bit more tidy, because I have 6 grandkids and 1 on the way, and they're going to have like wreak havoc with that. And other than that, the electrical stuff, you can hook it up through DCC, I'm sure. But to me, it seemed a whole lot easier just to buy a regular old electric controller at Radio Shack and be done with it. Because these little street lights that I bought off, or not street lights, crossing lights that I bought off of eBay for 4 of them for, I think it was $18 now. They just wanted a flat rate of electric, and I was able to supply it for them. Inside of here, that is lit up in there, and the way that's lit is with little LED lights, which I was able to get, oh my gosh, can't even remember how many I got. I think I got 20 for like $18, and they hook right into the rheostat control, or the old DC unit, and I can show you how that works on those as well. There's the light all the way up, and then in the evening, if the lights go down, when everybody quits, they can turn off, or they can go up. And that's going to be especially useful when I light the buildings up top here, and also put my street lights in, because I'm sure I'm not going to want them this bright all the time. The Locomotive, can't say enough good about it. I love that thing. Grandkids love it. Makes wonderful sounds. Very realistic. The Pennsylvania steam engine that it is a prototype of, or was the prototype for it, had a particular whistle. Listen to the end. I guess that's like the only train that ever did that little whoop-de-doo at the end. Quite a bit left to do on it, but I'm glad it's finally in its home room where it's going to be. We live in Florida, and it's kind of nice to have it where it's got some air conditioning. If you have any questions, just send them, and don't have a problem with you asking anything you want to know, or you want to know how water's installed, or how to take and put gravel in so it stays put. That'll be happening out here for the next video. Or even where I bought the lights to save yourself some money from the hobby shop. I'm not picking on hobby shops, but Boy, that'd be awful expensive if you bought everything there. But I do thank you for looking, and I'm sure I'll be posting again. Thank you.